and you can make a difference. And so, hey, you know, give Diane a call.
Right.
Write a check. The Milton Residents Fund. And there's a great story. If you go to fpmilton.org, that's the website for the First Parish Church. There's a whole section about the social action in these funds, and there's quite a history. You know, it talks about Henry B. Martin. You know, and what he was. He died in 1927, I believe, and he was a town clerk, and he was a banker, I guess. He was a bank executive. It says it right on here. They established the fund in 1937 in honor of her father, Henry B. Martin. And then his daughter, Eleanor, after his wife died, I guess his daughter took over, and they set up on Maple Street. They had 2 homes, it says, and it was for aged persons.
Right.
I mean, this is quite an interesting history, you know. So they had the homes over there, and they were to serve the less fortunate town residents. Money left to her by her father was bequeathed to operate the home, and it ran for 14 years before closing. Now, his daughter, Eleanor, decided to close the home, and they sold both parcels to the Massachusetts Audubon Society. Now, I don't know if they still own the houses or not, but
I actually don't know the answer to that.
This is your brochure. It's great. And what did it say? They closed the elderly home. They felt that government funds, like you said earlier, made the elderly home unnecessary. And it was decided that younger citizens and children could also benefit from the fund. And so this tradition of making grants to Milton residents, indeterminate of age, has continued to the present. Then they talked, when she died, she gave half of her estate to the Milton Residents Fund and the other half to the Milton Hospital. What a person, huh?
Yeah.
And so, and then there's some other funds, and there were like 12 funds before 1930. And then when they received a large gift in 1950, they decided to combine the funds just to make the cost of managing these funds much more manageable. And so there is a group of trustees that does manage the money, and then those distributions go through you to where you indicate.
Right.
And so
they make the final decisions.
If there's a question.
If there's questions, and they really direct me how to disperse the funds.
Well, it's great that you're doing this. I mean, I just thought this would be a great topic because I think people, don't realize that there are needs like this right here in Milton, not just in Milton, but all over the world.
You mentioned how we get a certain percentage of the income from the funds.
Yes.
I should say that also it's combined with some wonderful grants. One is from the Copeland Family Foundation.
And about how much do they give every year? Is it like $25,000?
Something, yeah. It varies a little bit, but it's a wonderful grant. It's the largest grant that we receive, and we really count on it. It makes a huge difference.
Thank you to the Copelands if you're watching.
It makes a huge difference.
Have they made an unbelievable difference in this town?
They've made a
Copeland
huge
family?
difference. It's amazing. And then we have other really social charitable groups like the Junior Women's Club, the Kiwanis, the Rotary Club. We have many groups, the clergy, the interfaith clergy group is very interested in the funds, and they're supportive if we have a situation where there's an extraordinary need. There are different groups we can turn to, and they are very generous about assisting us and being concerned about families in Milton and helping us meet their needs to make their lives a little easier.
Now, did I read something that, do you also make contributions to any organizations that are in need that are helping other families?
Several years ago when Sherry Dolgen was the social worker,
I remember Sherry, yes.
That was the case. In recent years, because of the growing need of
haven't had the money to help the organizations.
We haven't had the extra. We've really spent it all in direct support of the clients in Milton.
I think if I recall years ago, I think they even helped with some of the seed money to help develop Fuller Village. A bunch of the organizations. I think they gave them $100,000 or lent them $100,000 that they might have paid back. I'm not sure. I know there were a bunch of organizations that helped that out. I don't know for sure if it was this, but
individual donations come in, and I can't tell you the difference that makes. Particularly, they seem to come in at Christmas time, and that is a time where families call in need, and we do, in conjunction with the food pantry, we do the Milton holiday gift giving project for children connected to the Milton Food Pantry.
Is that related to the schools too? Are the schools involved in that? Is that the same? Is that the same one?
It's the very same one. The schools are, particularly the elementary schools, are huge in they provide gifts. First Parish Church Social Action Group provides gifts, and the church gets transformed into a workshop of toys. The pews are filled to the brim. People may have seen the article in the Milton Times that
they had a picture, I think.
That had a picture, and every year, this year I know that we collected gifts for over 180 children and approximately 4 or 5 gifts per child. And we had community members come forth and run holiday parties, and along with the Junior Women's Club, provided gift certificates for all the teens on the list. And those are often the ones that are hard to get gifts for. Everyone loves to buy for younger children.
Because it's expensive. Nowadays, the expectation to with teens is the electronics. You know, the electronics, the iPods, the Nanos, and all that stuff. And so it's an expensive thing, you know. It's one thing to give a young child a gift, you know, they might get away with a $10 or $20 or $30 item, but it's
the teenager,
you know, it's a.
But they really
I'm
love
sure they
gift
appreciate anything.
And I should say, you know,
didn't they have a mitten tree or?
They had a mitten tree. That was for a different group. I'm not quite sure. There's so many wonderful things that happen at the holidays, and very often after the holidays, the level of giving goes down, and we like to remind people, particularly at the food pantry, that the need for food and even utility assistance continues all through the spring and the summer and into the fall. You know, I should tell you about this incredible group that started about not quite 3 years ago in Milton. 2 young women that were college grads, friends at Bowdoin College, started a small informal charity called Milton Helping Hands. And
I've never heard of that.
And they are...
Folks, this is unbelievable. This is a great source of information for the town of Milton. We appreciate what you're doing here, Diane.
Oh, I'm glad that...
So what's it called? Helping Hands? Milton Helping Hands?
Milton Helping Hands.
Okay.
And they are 2 women, Audrey Gavin and Susan Rowley, and they have young families, and they started a charity, and they turned to the schools and they said, who else should we let know that we want to raise funds for families in need in Milton? And the schools connected them with me, and in the less than 3 years, they've raised over $17,000 and given it $17,000, most of it or much of it to families connected to the Milton Residents Fund.
Wow.
So that meant as more people came to us, we could, you know, help more, absolutely. And the thing that they like about it is that someone does sit and meet with the families, and
it's not cold. It's a
right, and everything is confidential, but they get a general sense of what the funds are being used for and the type of family that it's helping out. I can give another example of a generous group in the community, because at Christmas time I had a meeting with the Milton Council on Aging people, Mary Ann Sullivan and Nancy Stewart and Philip Driscoll over there, and they learned about the need of a grandmother who is raising a youngster.
Did I read about this in the paper?
You might
a chair or something?
Well, yes, absolutely. I was so grateful to them that I was looking and asking for a used electric recliner, but through various special funds that they have, they were moved by this grandmother's need. She has metastatic cancer and is having difficulty getting around and being comfortable, and they were able to have a brand new electric recliner delivered to her for Christmas, and that was through their connection with me and them learning of the need. And that's just one example that grandmother said to me, please share this example of my situation. Otherwise, I would have to say I wouldn't share it, but you know, that's just an example, and there are other families dealing with sudden critical illness and it may be a single mother with a young child with an illness, and then she can't work, and we just do whatever we can to.
Well, there are families in town like that with medical needs and everything.
Right.
You know that different social action groups have been delivering meals to families and things, you know. So.
It's been wonderful, and we have, I had a call from a senior who has some recent medical expenses, and he can't manage, and he'll come and see me, and we'll sit down, and it just really gives people, it lessens their sense of panic and worry that they won't be able to handle this, and they're so grateful that their community cares, and just like you said a little while ago, they don't feel so anonymous and so. They're
not a nobody anymore.
Yeah,
right.
They feel like someone's saying, we see you, we recognize that you're having difficulty, we really do want to help.
And isn't that what community is all about?
I think so. Yeah, definitely.
I mean that's what makes Milton a great community, because there's a lot of great people that care.
Yes.
And so, hey, what do they do on the shows? The telethons and everything. Get your checkbook out right now while you're watching the show. Come on. Milton Residents Fund, 535 Canton Ave.
It's a wonderful thing to do in memory. I know, I've had people recently say, I'll give a donation. There are things that we can do in memory of people, and I have to say that my father's out there in Milton, and I think we've become his favorite charity now, and my parents, I should say, and we appreciate all donations.
Right, I mean, when somebody passed away, I mean, I'm nothing against the floral business, but those things don't last, Yeah. This is the gift that keeps on giving, and it really does, because it's invested, and it just keeps generating funds for years to come, and so who knows, maybe you don't need anything right now, and maybe you'll never be a benefactor of what Diane's work. Well, you actually are, because if she's helping your neighbor, she's making the community a better place for all of us to live in. But you don't know what the future holds for you, and someday you may be calling Diane. And wouldn't it be great that you were one of the ones that wrote a check today, and and down the road you'll be grateful that you had, because the money will be there to help you, and maybe it just buys you that time to get yourself in a better position. And you can be a productive member of the society, and you can be writing checks to organizations like this again yourself. So, hey, things happen.
They do.
And it's not all about, because, they wanted to be in that situation. Mm-hmm. I know Eileen, who will be on in a minute, she's behind the camera now, she works at the ER. It's called an emergency. Mm-hmm. That's why we have emergency room. Right. This is the Milton Residents emergency room right here. We have Valentine's Day conference. Some of you will see this after Valentine's Day, but hey, wouldn't it be nice to make a contribution?
That would be great.
Instead of buying that box of chocolates for your loved one, why don't you make a donation to the Milton Residents Fund on their behalf or in their name? Wouldn't that be great?
That would be great.
And then you could get like a list of all the people that made a contribution for so-and-so, and maybe we could get the Milton Times to put it in the paper or something. I mean, who knows? It's just all about just people helping people.
Right, and I think people should know, if they're watching and they're wondering, could this fund help me, that don't hesitate to call, because I can, help you figure out if you're the type of person that, or in a financial situation where we would be able to help. There are different levels of need, but I would hope that people with a question of whether they might be eligible wouldn't hesitate to call. And I'll get back to them as soon as I can.
You're not there every day. What days of the week do you make appointments?
Yeah, I see people by appointment,
and
I'm there generally 3 days a week, but it varies depending on what I need to do.
Again, the number is 617-696-1214. Diane, I want to thank you for sharing this with the folks in Milton, and we have a very large viewership, so you're going to get a lot of checks. I know it, And we'll have Eileen mention it when she comes on, because she has even a larger audience that watches the movie review section. Again, we're here with Diane Ferrari. She's a licensed social worker. She works over at in the First Parish Church offices. They provide her an office. The trustees of the funds provide her an office so that she can meet confidentially with people that may need some help. Again, we're talking about the Milton Residents Funds. These are funds that have been established by people who have been dedicated to the town of Milton for years, have made contributions, and hopefully you won't need them, but if you do, it's nice to know there's a place you can call. Okay, don't call Ghostbusters, call Diane Ferrari. Thank you very much, Diane. Thank you for being on the show. And stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back with the awesome Eileen Mark. Bye-bye.